Glasgow, please put your hands together and welcome to the stage, Marc Jennings!
Thank you very much. Hello, Glasgow! Here we are. Friday night, Glasgow. There's really only one thing for sure. There's going to be a few mad cunts in here tonight. You're not really meant to call people mad anymore, but see when you call somebody mad in Glasgow, you're not really necessarily saying that they're mad. It's kind of like when you call somebody a cunt in Glasgow, you're not necessarily calling them a cunt. A lot of it's about the emphasis. Like, see if you're talking about somebody and you're like, he's a mad cunt. You're calling him mad, but he's not actually a cunt. He's just a cunt who is mad. See if you're talking about somebody and you're like, he's a mad cunt. You're calling him a cunt. But you're not calling him mad. You're just using mad to emphasise how much of a cunt he is. I know this is quite a strong start to the show, by the way. But if this kind of language is making you mad, then you're a cunt. Here we are, King's Theatre. Royal box cell. Charles never even bothered turning up. I was watching the news, and on the news it was showing you Charles holding an iPhone, right? Now, first of all, I don't know how he even types on that with the big fucking sausage fingers that he's got. The thing that really struck me about Charles' iPhone was it wasn't some sort of diamond-encrusted, royally appointed, special kind of iPhone. It wasn't even like a new iPhone. It was just like an old iPhone 11. It's the same one I've got. Like, I'm watching the news like, hold on, I've got the same phone as the king? Things are going a lot better for me than I thought, actually. I thought I was due an upgrade. Turns out not. Me and Big Chico have got the same one. Wonder if he's on giff-gaff as well. Just gave me a lot of comfort. I think, you know, the head of the monarchy is having the same problems with his phone as me. I just like to imagine Charles running out of storage space. Having to get into his camera roll, trying to delete some old photos. So now I'll need to keep the ones I mean my mum now. And there's no chance I'm getting rid of the Diana nudes. Camilla thinks I've got rid of them, but she doesn't know Canny Hunter, do you know what I mean? Well, there's some for Harry and Meghan's wedding, they can get to fuck. Well, fuck, there's a few mean Andrew on the jet as well, better delete them pronto. Phone gets hacked on the abdicate, for fuck's sake. I was watching that Harry and Meghan documentary. I don't really have strong feelings to Harry and Meghan either way, but all I know is that the people I know who are most angry at Harry and Meghan for leaving the royals, ironically, are family members I would like to escape from. So my auntie's like, see that Meghan? She's just like my Jamie's lassie. A manipulative wee cow. See, since they moved into that new house, we've not seen the Granny Wains once. I'm like, I wonder why. I appreciate he's coming out, buying the ticket tonight. Thank you very much for doing so. On the cost of living crisis that we're going through at the moment. You know things are bad with the cost of living crisis. The most radical person in the country now is Martin Lewis, the money-saving expert. Remember the good old days when you would just go on his website to try and figure out how to save money renewing your car insurance? Now you see him on the news, he's like, we all need to bomb the British Gas headquarters now. He's meant to be a consumer rights advocate. He's now the most radical political activist we've got. Martin Lewis King Jr. all of a sudden. I have a dream that one day little boys and little girls will hold hands and it won't just be for warmth. Tories came out and said that to deal with the cost of living crisis, what we're going to need to do is make some difficult decisions. But see, whenever the Tories talk about difficult decisions, they never mean that they're going to stand up to big corporations or take away bankers' bonuses or tax the super rich. All they ever mean is they're going to cut more public services and take it out on the most vulnerable in society. And that's not even a difficult decision for the Tories. That's the sort of stuff they want to do anyway. That'd be like you phoning up your partner like, hi, honey, listen, I've made the difficult decision to go to the pub tonight and leave you in the house with the kids. I know it's not a popular decision, but it's one that I'm prepared to make. And actually, having a few pints in the local is really going to stimulate growth in the economy, so... Scary, man, having the Tories. Because the Tories don't care about helping anyone, right? That's what they say they believe, isn't it? Or pull yourself up by your bootstraps. Basically, what the Tories say they believe is that the best way to help people is to give them no help whatsoever. Which is an insane thing you want in a government. Like, you wouldn't even want that in a personal trainer. Imagine turning up at the gym, they're like, figure it out for yourself, you fat bastard. It's scary, like, because, you know, we've got the NHS crisis at the moment, and you know that the Tories don't care about the NHS being in crisis, because they don't rely on it the way that we do. And see, watching the Tories dismantle the NHS, it reminds me of this one time. I was in the gym changing rooms, right? I just had a shower, and I was about to use the hairdryer, the communal gym hairdryer. I look over, and there's this bald guy using that hairdryer to dry his socks. And he was rubbing this hairdryer directly against his manky, horrible socks. And see the way that I was watching that bald guy using that hairdryer to dry his socks? That's like the way we are watching the Tories dismantle the NHS, just looking like, oh, just because you've got no use for that doesn't mean you need to ruin it for the rest of us, right? And Nicola Sturgeon stood down now as well in Scotland. You know, it's weird, like, you only ever really hear about someone standing down if it's for a kind of high-profile job, you know, like a politician or a football manager. Like, you never just hear about someone standing down from their positions like a joiner for Glasgow City Council. You get into the job centre, like, so why was it you quit your last job exactly? I think you'll find I stood down. I'd just taken the position as far as it could possibly go in the 3 weeks I was there, and I just want to spend more time with my family. Which is convenient because I've had to move back in with my mum and dad, so... I sort of thought that all the SNP were quite progressive, but it turns out that a lot of people who are in the SNP want independence for all different sorts of reasons. Like, in retrospect, it turns out Alex Salmond wanted independence so he could turn Scotland into his own version of Jeffrey Epstein's island. But I've never been too into one political party. Like, if I was pushed, I would say I'm an SNP supporter, but Labour are still my English team. Do you know what I mean? Like, I still look out for the results. How'd they got in that by-election? I've got them on an accumulator here. There's no hope in Labour now with Keir Starmer, man. It's depressing. To be honest, the main thing that depresses me about Keir Starmer when I see him on the news is I just look at him and I think, that's what I'm going to look like in 20 years. Good to know I'll keep the hair. But there's not really that much difference now between Labour and the Tories, because Labour are not that much better, are they? So it's like, to me, the difference between Labour and the Tories is a lot like the difference between soft boys and fuck boys. Because they're the two kind of guys you get on dating apps, right? And neither of them actually care about you. They've just got different tactics to try and win you over. Labour are like soft boys, because they pretend to be all caring and considerate, saying stuff like, oh, I believe in equality. I'm a feminist too. I do my bit for the environment. I'm not like those other guys. And then you give them what they want, and they're like, oh, I know I made all those promises, but I'm just not looking for it right now. Whereas the Tories are like fuckboys, because they don't even really try and pretend that they're not dicks. They just cut right to the chase, like, come on, just let me. Just let me lower your taxes, come on. Don't pretend like you don't want me to. No one even needs to find out. Then they get what you want, and you never hear from them again. Till the next time's an election, you get that text at 3 a.m, yup. Meanwhile, the Greens are just standing about like, they say they want a nice guy, but they always go for the arseholes. I used to be one of those guys that would like put in my dating profile like, oh, I'll never shag a Tory. That's what I used to say. I used to say that. I used to say, I'll never shag a Tory. And then I went on a date with this lassie who's a Tory, and turns out my morals are not as strong as I once thought. I will pretend to be for stopping migrant boats crossing the channel if that's enough for me to gain entry into her. I think the biggest problem with politics, though, right, is that basically all the elections are always decided by old people, right? Because it's all the older generations that vote, right? And a lot of young people are angry with the old now for the way that they voted in the last couple of elections, the state of the world they've been left with. And it's a popular belief amongst young people now there should be an age limit to voting. You know, I don't think I agree with that, but you know, when it comes to driving, definitely. But people say, right, you shouldn't be allowed to say on a future that you're not going to be around to fucking see anyway, right? But I don't think you can take people's right to vote away, right? But what I think they should do is they should make it that the only way you can vote is to use a machine that is basically the same as a self-service checkout. So that old people don't know how to fucking use them. And then they'll just either need to not turn up, or they turn up at the polling booth, but they need to ask a young person who works there for help. Excuse me, son, can you help me? They're like, oh, who are you looking to vote for today? Oh, the Conservatives. I'll just make sure that definitely goes through for you. Fuck off, you fucking old bastard! You've ruined my future. So what kind of future are we looking at? You know, they say apparently we've got less than 10 years to stop irreversible climate change. I don't know if we're going to do it, and it makes you think about how you're going to live your life, global warming. Like, a lot of my mates are starting to have kids and stuff now, right? And I would maybe like children one day, but I don't know if I'd want to bring a child into this world that might not be here by the time they grow up, you know? Because, like, see kids born today, by the time they get to that age where you'd be giving them the chat about the birds and the bees, all you're going to be doing is describing to them why there's no longer any birds or bees. Like, sorry, pal, me and your ma just wanted to keep eating hamburgers and flying to Lanzarote. What can I tell you? Because that's the two things they say we're meant to cut down on for global warming, isn't it? We're meant to reduce burning fossil fuels and we're meant to stop eating meat. But to be honest, I'm a bit cynical about how much what we're eating is really going to affect things if we're still burning fossil fuels. Like, I just don't think it really matters whether or not you have the vegetarian option if you're already on the fucking flight. Like, I had done a 10,000 mile round trip, but offset my carbon footprint because I had the couscous. I don't know. The only thing I do know is that they say the reason you have to stop eating meat is because of the methane from cow farts, isn't it? It goes into the atmosphere, causes a lot of problems. See, if that's the case, I could give up eating beef, you know? Like, I prefer chicken anyway, and like, you never hear about chicken farts causing any problems, do you? The only unintended consequence of a chicken fart is occasionally an egg. Oh, for fuck's sake, it followed through. What was another five where that came from? But the only thing I don't like about the global warming chat, right, I don't like the emphasis on all of us to do our wee bit to save the planet, right? When all these big corporations are out there still causing most of the pollution, right? And a lot of companies now are trying to go on the bandwagon and make it look as though they're green, even though they're not really doing anything about it, right? There's a term for that, actually. It's called greenwashing. And I've seen a really good example of this in my old work. I used to work in this call centre, right? And it was for like a car insurance company. And at one point, they made a big deal about the fact that we're going paperless. So we're going to stop sending people's documents out through the post, send them online instead, because that's better for the environment. Which would have been all well and good if they weren't also still offering a multi-car discount. So I'd literally have conversations on the phone with people going, okay, Mrs. O'Brien, so that's your gas-guzzling Range Rover insured, and because your husband also has a gas-guzzling Range Rover insured with us, you both get a 20% discount. Oh, your documents? No, we don't send them through the post. Do you know that's bad for the environment? It's too depressing, global warming, chatting to. I try and avoid it if I can, you know, you switch off, you look at your phone, go on the internet and all that stuff like that. I like to watch a lot of films, but it's hard to get away from the news because everything's politicised to an extent now. Like, I was watching that film recently, you know, that Stephen Hawking one. It's called The Theory of Everything, right? I was watching that. Apparently there's a lot of controversy in that came out because people were annoyed that the guy who plays Stephen Hawking in the film in real life is not actually a genius or something like that. And I didn't read too much in it, right? It was something along those lines. And the argument is about representation in films. And I never really used to get it because I was like, surely the whole point of being an actor is you're pretending to be someone that you're not. But then I found out the guy who plays Sick Boy in Trainspotting is English. And I was like, this is a fucking disgrace. Scottish roles for Scottish actors. Our culture is not your costume. So look out, my documentary series coming soon. It's called The Problem with Groundskeeper Willie. Spell all that shit, it's not cool. Some Scottish stuff seeps through into popular culture in America and all that sometimes. Like whenever you watch Drag Race, they're always saying a Scottish word on that, aren't they? They're always saying yas. That's ours. That's cultural appropriation. You know, they're always going, yas. Yas, Queen. See, until a couple of years ago, the only time I'd ever heard anyone utter the phrase yas, Queen was in a Scottish pub that someone had just stopped Bohemian Rhapsody on the jukebox. Is this just real life? Yes, Queen, come on! R.I.P. Freddie Gombe, not forgotten, big man. You notice like, when you're talking about like, a group of people, like, you'll tend to refer to them by like, the name of the person who you like most in that group. And so someone says to you, oh, who's coming out tonight? And you're like, oh, Jamie, in that. Jamie is the only one you really want to have a pint with. The rest of them, the in that's, they're a fucking afterthought, if anything. If one of the nats don't show up, you might not even notice. If Jamie's not coming, there's no point in fucking getting it in the first place, basically. I think every group of people really just boils down to someone in that, which is why I think band names exist, because like, otherwise, like Coldplay would just be called Chris Martin in that. The Arctic Monkeys be Alex Turner in that. When Robbie Williams left Take That, they should have renamed themselves And That. Gary in that is just not cutting it, I'm afraid. The only thing worse than being an and that, in my opinion, would be being an et al. I remember as a uni, I'd read these academic papers and it'd always be like, authors, Jacobson et al. I'd always be reading it like, the other authors must be raging, their names didn't get used. Like, I wrote that entire paper, Jacobson et al, more like Jacobson fuck all. Jacobson ate all the biscuits in the canteen while I done the work. The words that people get the most upset about now, particularly online, is pronouns, isn't it? Now, listen, I think a lot of people put pronouns in their social media bios, right? And the reason they do that is because they want to be inclusive to people, if they're gender neutral or non-binary, right? And actually, if you know about pronouns, it's good, because if you meet somebody who's gender neutral, you can ask them, what's your pronouns? And that's a question you can ask them that's just not going to offend anyone. Whereas I think a lot of people, if they met somebody who's gender neutral, would ask them the same question that you get asked in Glasgow if you say you don't support Celtic or Rangers. People are just like, aye, but what did you grow up as? It must have been one or the other, surely. Some people just support Partick Thistle, guys, and that is all right. Scottish football, like gender, is non-binary, is all I'm trying to say. I was in Australia at the start of the year, and I was just working this show up, right? And I went to a football game while I was there. In Australia, like, football's not the number one sport, but I went and the stadium was massive, and there's loads of people there, and they were dead into it, right? But Australians, kind of like Americans, they don't really have the right vocabulary for football, right? They don't really know the right words to say. So I was watching this team called Adelaide United, and at one point, one of the players got a yellow card, right? And so a guy behind me goes like that, "Get a new life, ref!" I was like, get a new life. I've never heard anyone say that in football ever. I've heard the ref get death threats. I've never heard get a new life. I think it's weird about Scottish football, right, is like all the referees are part-time, so they've all got day jobs and stuff, right? Like, to be fair, it's always quite like good day jobs, you know, they're always kind of like lawyers and teachers and stuff. Like, you never just get some guy that's like refereeing the top flight and he's just stacking shelves in Asda or something like. Has to go up to his manager, like, all right, boss, can I get a shift swap? It'd be nice to do the Old Firm on Sunday. His boss is like, no, because there is no Old Firm, son. Hey, no. That was him that said that in that joke, that wasn't me. I'm not getting into that. Shut up, you mad cunt. Anyway. But it's true, man, like, and it's like, they're all part-time, right, and it's like, you know, Willie Collum, that guy, he's a referee, and he was a teacher, he's retired now, but he used to be a ref and a teacher. Imagine getting in every Monday mornings, or these wee guys like, so that was never a penalty. The worst one, of course, is Douglas Ross, who... Scottish Conservative leader and a linesman. What a fucking cunt. Like, imagine growing up wanting to be a Tory and a referee. It's like... He's going on with a burning desire to have people want to fucking chuck things at you, do you know what I mean? He's a fucking narcissist, there you go, that's the sort of eloquent heckle that I'm looking for, by the way, I'm good. Fucking psychological fucking diagnosis in the front row. He's got narcissistic tendencies, actually, Are you Northern Irish? Oh yeah, what's your name, mate? Billy. Billy from Northern Ireland, they're not fucking about with that. We are cosplaying compared to what the fucking shit they do us. Billy, right, I hope you don't mind me saying, right, like, you might have seen me talk about it. I put this story out online, right, but I was actually in Belfast, right, a wee while ago. I was in Northern Ireland. I got talking to this guy, right, and I don't really care about anyone else, by the way, honestly, I generally don't, right, take people as they come, whatever, but I was talking to this guy in Belfast, right, and he happened to be a big sort of DUP voting, loyalist unionist guy, right, in Northern Ireland. Then he starts telling me his opinions about the trans community, right, and I'm like, here we fucking go. That's what he says to me, he says, you know, I don't like all that trans shit. He said, if you're physically a man, how can you identify as a woman? And I was like, well, to be fair, mate, I mean, Northern Ireland is physically part of Ireland. You don't seem to have a problem identifying as British. I mean, what is Northern Ireland if not a trans country? Let's be honest, you know what I mean? And if anything, there should be no one who's more pro-trans than a Northern Irish unionist. This guy saying to me, is like, these trans people, they're called one name and then expect you to call them another. Is what you mean, like Derry and Londonderry, for example? Is that He was called Billy as well, actually. That's weird, isn't it? No, I'll tell you, obviously, I never actually said any of that, by the way. Still alive to tell the tale. Oh, fuck. I'm not going to talk to you again because I'm scared now. I learned a lot about LGBT stuff, right, because I used to go out with this girl who's bisexual, and she's a big LGBT activist. We'd go to the marches and stuff, and one day she's watching this documentary. It was one of those documentaries about these, you know, these sort of horrible, like, kind of gay conversion therapy places they have, right? She's watching that. She's obviously getting very upset. She's like, I can't believe they do this to people. This is a disgrace. No one can choose who they love. And I was like, it's funny you mention that, because I don't think we should see each other anymore. And you can't get mad at me because I can't choose who I love either. Isn't that interesting though? We can understand that you can't choose who you love when it comes to sexuality, but not on like an individual level. Like, if I walk up to some lassie in a bar and try to chat her up and she's like, oh, I'm a lesbian, I'm like, oh, sorry I even bothered you. If I just walk up and she's like, nah, I just don't like you. I'm like, well, fuck you then, do you know what I mean? But why? Why can't we deal with that, I mean? I'm quite good at getting rejected, I think. I can take it, you know. Because I know for a fact you can't choose who you love, and particularly getting dumped, right? Because see, the thing is, like, you shouldn't hate someone that dumps you, right? Because, like, at least they liked you for a while. Which is more than can be said for almost any other person that you've ever met in your entire life. Like, see someone dumps you, they've liked you enough to take your number, go on a date with you, maybe even slept you, right? So if they then decide they don't want to see you anymore, you shouldn't be hateful towards them. You should be grateful towards them for ever liking you in the first place. Like, see the next time someone says to me, I don't think we should see each other anymore, I'm just going to be like, well, I can only thank you for everything you've done. Single at the moment. I got into a relationship just at the start of lockdown for a while, right? Basically what happened was I just started seeing this girl and we weren't sure if it was going to be anything serious or not, but then lockdown hit and we had that decision to make whether or not to get into a relationship. Now, it's made more complicated for me by the fact that the girl I was seeing at the time, she actually works as an ICU nurse. So obviously when the pandemic hit, I was genuinely scared that if I broke things off with her, I would then catch a bad case of COVID and end up in her ward. You know, last thing I want to see is her coming up to me like, I'm sorry, Mark, but this ventilator wants to see other people as well. It also has issues committing to just one person. So we had to stay together until I get the vaccine. No, we got together, we made a go of it, right? And she's an ICU nurse, which we all know is a difficult job, you know, they go overworked and underpaid. I don't actually understand it, because like, she would be coming in doing these long 12-hour shifts, and I don't understand why we make nurses and doctors do 12-hour shifts. Like, it just seems like it's already a hard enough job without being a fucking endurance test as well. Like, I once done a 12-hour shift in Asda, and I was fucking knackered after it. I could barely put lasagna on a shelf. Never mind save somebody's life. Because at the end of the day, right, all of us in here, our lives at one point or another might depend on the NHS, right? And the last thing you want if you're lying in a hospital bed somewhere and they're all gathering around going, right, guys, we all need to band together and do something quick, or they're not making it through the night. Last thing you want is someone just standing there going, well, at least they're going to get away before me, for fuck's sake. I've got another 10 hours left in this fucking shift. But as it turned out, when COVID hit, my girlfriend, she's actually one of the people who had to shield, because she's 78 years old, and... No, she's not, right? But like a lot of younger people, right, she had an underlying health condition that meant that she had to stay in the house, right? So she couldn't be in the front lines dealing with COVID patients like her workmates. She had to stay in the house. I'd lost all my work, so we basically just formed a bubble in her flat. And effectively kind of moved in together quite quickly, right? So we went from 0 to 100... quickly, and suddenly we started having a lot of arguments, right? And that was a new thing for me, because I'd sort of avoided conflict in my life almost as much as I'd avoided, commitment. And the thing is, I've been single for a wee while before that, and seeing you've been single too long, you don't really realise all the annoying shit that you do until you get into a relationship, and it's pointed out to you all the fucking time. And to be fair to her, right, there's loads of stuff I do that is annoying that I didn't realise before. Like, turns out, like, I slurp my coffee and I forget to turn lights off. I'm emotionally unavailable. These are all annoying traits in a relationship, it turns out. But I think, like most couples, the arguments that we'd mainly have, it was usually just stuff around the flat. You know, it was usually things that I was meant to do around the flat that me and my girlfriend would argue about, right? And it's like, to be fair, the thing is, the problem was though, right, she would never just come out and ask me to do these things. She'd just drop these wee hints and hope that I'd pick up on it. Like, the way she would talk to me, it was like we were actors in a stage play and I'd forgot my lines. So she's trying to give me these prompts to help me remember what it is I'm meant to be saying. She'd be like, oh, that's the bin full again. Meanwhile, I forgot I've even got a role in this. I'm just like a member of the audience going, I wonder what's going to happen next. And she'd get annoyed by this, right? But I would always say to her, but listen, see if you ever need me to do anything around here, just ask me and I'll happily do it. And she'd be like, Mark, I don't want to have to ask you. I want you to offer. To be fair, I felt the same way about blowjobs, right? But you know... Sometimes you actually don't get it, is all I'm saying. I say a lot of the arguments were my fault, right? But, you know, everybody has arguments in relationships, and sometimes you think to yourself, oh, this is probably the sort of argument every couple has. But we were starting to have some arguments, and I was starting to wonder how normal it was, right? I'll give you an example. One of the biggest arguments we had over one of the smallest things was this, right? Like, see, when I was in the flat, it's my job to do the dishes. Now, I like doing the dishes, right? But see, whenever I do the dishes, I like to just put my earphones in and listen to a podcast. In fact, I listen to a podcast really whenever I'm doing any kind of cleaning or cooking or driving or going to sleep at night. Basically, I've realised if I can't be looking at my phone, I need to be listening to someone. Otherwise, the dark thoughts start creeping in. You need to get that cough checked out. No, I think I'll just listen to another serial killer podcast, actually. That'll be more mindful for me. So I'm in the kitchen, I'm doing the dishes. My girlfriend comes in. She's like, Mark, why have you got the earphones in? I was like, oh, I'm just listening to a podcast, what's up? She's like, I can't believe you would do that when we are meant to be spending time together. I was like, all right, I thought it was just be cool because we're in different rooms, you know? And she's like, yeah, but what if I want to come in here and have a conversation with you? I was like, well, I'd probably do what I've just done right now and take the earphones out so I can hear what you're saying. She wasn't having any of this, right? So we had this big argument, and I thought it was ridiculous. I was just kind of laughing, and then the whole argument became about how I don't take her feelings seriously. 45 minutes later, I find myself going, and I know you're right, and I know we spoke about that before, and I'll work on that next time. Meanwhile, I'm thinking to myself, fucking hell, this is a lot just because I was trying to listen to a podcast about how to deal with when you're having arguments in a relationship. So I had to apologise, right? And and the thing is, like, listen, I have my faults as well. I'm not perfect by any stretch of the imagination, right? But more and more in that relationship, I was feeling like I was having to apologise a lot for things that, to be honest, I didn't really think was that bad, right? Like, I felt like I was getting a lot of yellow cards for things that were barely fouls, in my opinion. She's like a ref too quick to go to her pocket. Sometimes you got to let the game flow, is all I'm saying. She said that I was banned from listening to earphones while I'd done the dishes. I was to get no excess enjoyment out of menial tasks whatsoever. I've still done it, but what I had to start doing was just listening with one earphone in the ear that was faced away from the kitchen door. So that if she's walking by, she couldn't see it. If she's coming in, I had time to hide it. Sometimes I need to try and hide the wire. Like, it reminded me when I was in school, trying to listen to my iPod in class. I'd kind of sit like this, like... Remember the teacher come up, like, you right there, Mark? Yeah, just get a bit of a sore ear, miss. Like, no wonder you fucking Limp Bizkit blasting out over there. So we're having a lot of arguments like that, and I was starting to feel like I couldn't really do right for doing wrong. And I was maybe thinking that it's probably time for us to break up, right? And I think we both knew it wasn't going well, but it was scary because it was still lockdown. I think we were both scared that if we split up, then we'd both be on our own, and we were worried about that. It's interesting what keeps you in a relationship sometimes as well. Like, at the start of lockdown, she got this lovely wee kitten, right? And I grew really attached to being with her in the flat with the cat. Like, it felt like a wee family. I was like, maybe I should wait till the cat's 18 before I fuck off. The worst part of it is she's actually now with another guy, right? And the cat really resents him because it's not his real dad. He's joined a gang, addicted to catnip now, that cat. But I made the decision, right, that I was going to need to end things, but because I was scared, I was dragging my heels about it, right, which I would never recommend, because see if you know a relationship isn't going to work out, I'd suggest just end it as quickly as possible, right, because it's no fair for anyone, and it's better for everybody if you just get out of it, because then if I was in this limbo where I was like, I knew I had to end the relationship, I was dragging my heels, and then see when you're in that position, right, in a relationship, you know you're going to need to end, like, you need to avoid committing to anything too far into the future. Like, she'd be looking at holidays, like, oh, do you want to book something tonight? I'd be like, let's maybe just wait till next week till I can work up the courage to fucking leave you. It's a lot like when you're in a job that you know you're going to quit, but you've no handed in your notice yet. Your boss come up to you like, we're still waiting your deposit for the Christmas night out. You're like, oh, have I not got that to you yet? Oh. I'll bring it in on Monday. Meanwhile, you're thinking to yourself, if I'm still here by Christmas, I'm going to fucking kill myself. What happened was that the restrictions then lifted a wee bit, so you could go out for the first time. So one day, we went out for some lunch, and then we got a takeaway coffee. She had to go to H&M and return some clothes or something. I had to go in our shop. So I was like, right, I'll get you back here. So I'm standing outside. Because of COVID, they made us stand outside this shop, right, and they had a L-shaped barrier in the street. So I'm standing in the queue, got my coffee, I finish it, and I've got the empty cup in my hand. My girlfriend then comes back, and I'm like, oh, can you stick this cup in the bin for me? She's like, aye, no bother. But see, because of the barrier and the people behind me in the queue, the only way that I could get this cup to her was just to chuck it over the barrier. So she sees me go to do that, she's like, Mark, you better not throw that. As she said that, I've already thrown it, it's in mid-air, she doesn't catch it, it hits the ground, and then the couple behind me seen this whole thing, and they really laughed, and then I laughed, and she was fucking raging, right? So she storms off. But I didn't want to lose my place in the queue, so I just waited, I went in. When I came back out, I'm like, are you all right? And she's like, I can't believe you've done that. And I thought, do you know what? I'm sick of apologising for this stuff. I don't really think it's that bad, right? I know it's maybe a stupid thing to do, but it seemed like the best idea to me at the time, and I don't think it's as bad as she's making me feel about it anyway, right? So I thought, I'm going to stand up for myself here. So I did, by saying nothing. Said absolutely nothing, right? We went all the way home in silence, but then we got back to the flat, and then we said everything to each other, right? They had the discussion, and we realised it was probably better to just break up, right? Now, you maybe think that's a trivial way for a relationship to end, right? I don't know, but like, the reason that she was really annoyed anyway, I think, is because the shop that I was going to was the Apple store, so that I could get a new pair of earphones. I was actually going to get AirPods, because the wireless ones would have been a lot easier to hide. I'd just been able to put them in the back pocket. I should say, me and my ex, like, we ended amicably, and like, I think she's a good person, you know. I think we're just a bit incompatible as people, and that happens, you know. Like, we don't really talk as much now, right? What we do is we occasionally send each other memes, right? Which I think is like a mature breakup in the modern era, just occasionally send each other TikToks, right? Although to be fair, it's usually her sending me ones of me talking about her on stage and going, what the fuck is this? As I say, I think the reason we both stayed in that relationship longer than we should have is because we were both scared of being alone, right? But seeing that experience, I think I learned, like, see, it's better to be alone than it is to be in a bad relationship, right? And the reason I say that is, like, you know, like, see if you, and certainly to stay in one, right? Because, like, see if you're alone, right? You never fantasize about being in a bad relationship, right? But see if you are in a bad relationship, all you do every waking hour of the day is fantasize about how fucking amazing it would be if you were just on your own. It's like, oh my God, if I could go to this, I could just go travelling, I could start that business, my life would be amazing. All that happens really is that you sit about alone wanking a lot, right? But at least you're not lying to anyone, and that's the main thing. But as a result, I've been back on the dating apps and stuff like that, and I matched this lassie recently on a dating app who's a doctor. So I arranged to go on a date with her, because it's been so hard to get a GP appointment, and I just thought, be easier to see one face-to-face that way, you know? We're in bed, she's like, what would you like me to do to you? I'm like, can you just take a look at this, actually? Is that really normal to you? She's like, it's a bit smaller than average, actually. When you're on dating apps for long enough, you start to see certain patterns, right? And there's one thing people do a lot, is like, seeing other people are visiting a city for a few days, they'll put in a description in their dating app something like, only in town for the weekend, looking for someone to show me around. That's basically just a code that's like, I'm looking to meet someone this weekend, shag them, and then never speak to them again, right? Which is why I have only in town for the weekend just when I'm in Glasgow where I live. Because, you know, it's what I set the expectations. So everybody's looking for something different, you know, but like, I've found on dating apps you get two types of people generally, right? You get people who say they're looking for something serious, and then you get people who say they're just looking for fun. But I always think it must be quite difficult if you're on a dating app and you're only looking for something serious, because you always need to be on the lookout to make sure things don't get too fun. On a date with someone's a right laugh, you need to stop them and be like, oh, I told you I'm only looking for something serious. This has been far too much fun. I don't think you're taking this seriously. Some people are in serious relationships, but they're still looking for fun. They're polyamorous, right? And sometimes I think to myself, maybe that's the way to go, you know? Maybe monogamy is an outdated stereotype or archetype. But I think polyamory would come with its own problems, right? Because, like, I think if you're in a polyamorous relationship, there's always going to be one person who's more polyamorous than the other, right? And the last thing you want is, you know, you're sitting in playing the PlayStation every night where your partner's getting fucking rattled. You're getting pumped at FIFA, she's getting pumped next door. And be polyamorous, living the life of an asexual here. I think dating apps and stuff has made people more superficial. I think the social media and stuff as well, like, because, you know, you see all the people obviously now, they get all the fucking turkey teeth and, you know, the lip fillers and these things, right? And listen, right, I would like nicer teeth, right? But do you know what you need to do to get the veneers, the fake teeth? Like, what they need to do is, like, whittle down your natural teeth to these tiny wee nubs, and then they attach the fake teeth on top of them, right? And I don't know if I'd want nicer teeth that much. Like, I'm sure, like, every guy, for example, right, if offered, would take a few extra inches on their dick, right? But see if the only way you could achieve that would be to whittle down your natural penis to this tiny wee nub that you would then attach the big fake cock on top of. I think every guy would be like, I'm good with what I've got, actually. Even if it is a bit crooked, you know. We're all superficial, man. Like, I was driving recently, right? I was driving down the road. There was a lot of traffic, and I should have been concentrating, but there was this absolutely beautiful looking girl at the side of the road, right? And I couldn't help but turn and look at her, because I think that's a big problem if you're driving. Like, it doesn't really matter what's happening in front of you, because you'll turn your head whenever you see someone who you find attractive, which is why drink driving is so dangerous, because your standards get a lot lower. I think it's jokes like that is why I'm single, but that No, do you know what my problem is, right? See, anytime I meet someone I really like, I always find a way to fuck it up, right? Because it's really hard to just act normal around someone that you really like. Like, I think my tendency is I always just want to be overly nice to people, right? But I know that doesn't work. So, like, I'll be talking to some lassie and she'll maybe even be self-deprecating, like, oh, I'm such a mess. And I'm like, oh, no, I just want to be like, oh, no, you're a princess or whatever, right? But I know that doesn't work, right? So I'm like, no, right, just say something cool, right? But you can only be cool if you're relaxed. And if you're too tense and worried about what they're thinking, if you try and act cool, you just say something overly harsh instead. So... talking to some lassie, she'd be like, oh, I'm such a mess. And I'm like, I know, you should probably kill yourself, actually. Yeah, I mean, you're a princess. Is this too late? That's what they say. They say that women are attracted to confidence, don't they, right? And I think that's true, but the hard thing about that is that men's confidence is often based on fuck all. Like, see a confident guy and you think, oh, man, he must have a lot going for him, must be a great guy, going places his career and all that, right? But then, you know, there is guys like that out there, right? There's like fucking 5 of them, right? And then every other confident guy is usually just some arsehole who's got nothing going for him, but acts confident anyway, and that's how women's lives get ruined, right? Like, I know a guy who's got a new wife because she's seen him swaggering about the pub because he's won £10 on a betting slip. That is where men's confidence comes from, right? I'm a guy dating women, right, and that's mainly what I'm going to be talking about, like, because that's all I know about, and I barely know about that, to be honest. But I don't envy women on dating apps who try to match with guys, you know, because, like, you know, I think, like, because the thing guys do all the time on dating apps, like, they'll kind of, like, they'll send these overly sexual messages right off the bat, I'm told, and... No, I don't do that, right? But I think that's the main thing that, like, you hear from like my female friends and stuff. They say, like, guys always send these overly sexual messages right off the bat, to the point where if you're a woman on a dating app, I guess you get these messages, roll your eyes, like, for fuck's sake, not another creep, right? But guys, like, women never really send guys these overly sexual messages right off the bat on dating apps, to the point where if guys ever get them, we just think to ourselves, this must be a trap. You're not getting my credit card details that easily, fuck off. Do you know it's illegal now in the UK to send an unsolicited dick pic, right? Which is a good thing that they've done that, right? Because, you know, nobody should be sending dicks to people that have no asked for them, right? To be honest, even if you like dicks, I'm surprised anyone does ask for dick pics. I don't know how nice they are to look at, do you know what I mean? Like, I remember the first time a lassie ever asked me for a dick pic, right? It was this girl, she was American, and she'd been over here for the weekend, and I'd been showing her around, right? So... we spent a few days together, and then she was actually on the flight home, right? She was about to take off, and she's like, oh, send me a dick pic. I was like, oh, I didn't really want to, but I was kind of hoping that if I did, she might send me something back. So I took it, and I remember, as soon as I pressed send, I always remember thinking to myself, I hope that plane crashes. And it did, so fuck it, I'm free, you know. The only guys I feel sorry for on dating apps is men under 6 foot. Because they're always getting it tight. You know, you see a lot of women's dating profiles and they have something like, what do you call a guy under 6 foot? A friend and all that shit, you know? Like. And, you know, I'm not a short guy myself, but some of my best friends are under 6 foot, all right? And I've got to stand up for my short kings, because if they do it for themselves, you still might not fucking see them. And to be fair, right, I think that's maybe one of the only things that women can be a wee bit superficial about, right? But it is harsh when you see it, right? Like, you know, I seen the harshest dating profile I've ever seen was this lassie's, and all it said was, you need to have a few inches on me to put a few inches in me. Which is why my dating profile just says 6 foot. And it's me standing with 2 of my short mates. It's Stephen Stewart for the Some Laugh podcast, if you... Oh, some fans in. Cool. One tip for you, if you're listening to the podcast that I do, don't listen to it while you're doing the dishes. Or your relationship may end. But I don't know, man. I'd like to meet somebody, right? Because, you know, it gets older, like, you're dating and stuff like that, and like your dating style changes as you get older. Like, you know, like, see, when I was in my early 20s, I was like a box-to-box midfielder. You know, I was like chasing after every ball, covering every blade of grass. Now in my early 30s, like, I'm more like a defensive mid. You know, like, I've lost a lot of pace and stamina. I need to sit back now. But I can read the game a lot better these days. I can see opportunities where no one else can. And at this point, I'm just looking for a club to end my career, basically. I got ghosted a while ago. Now, old people, that doesn't mean I became a widow or something like that, right? It just means... it's when somebody doesn't text you back, basically, right? The hard thing about being ghosted is that you don't get an explanation as to why you've been rejected. So you then just need to rifle through all the stuff that you hate about yourself and try and figure out which one it was that they noticed. What was it? Was it my hair? Was it my teeth? I knew I should have got that veneer on my dick, man. See if only. But no one wants to get led on. That's the thing, right? But to me, right, it seems like look, men and women can sometimes get led on in slightly different ways. Like, I was talking to one of my female friends, right, and we were discussing dates we've been on and stuff, and I asked her, I says, oh, listen, how's it been going with that guy you've been seeing? She's like, it's been all right, but it's not going anywhere. What about you? What's been happening to you and the girl you've been seeing? I was like, it's been all right, but I'm not getting anywhere. And that's kind of what's hard about dating between men and women, right? Because guys feel like we're being led on. If we are going with women, we're not getting somewhere. Whereas women feel like you've been led on if you're getting with a guy and it's not going anywhere. It's why it's so hard. You've been going with someone, you finally get somewhere. She's like, where's this going? You're like, what are you talking about? I've just got here. Where else does it go? I think the reality is we all want to go somewhere and we all want to get somewhere, right? But the thing is, I think the reason that guys seem obsessed with getting somewhere is because we feel like, you know, if we don't get with a woman, then she can't like us, and if we do get somewhere, she does, right? Which is stupid, because that's not even always the case, you know? Guys will be like, oh, I got somewhere last night in the first date, she must be into me. Meanwhile, she's telling her pals, I wasn't a name, but I didn't want to waste the fact I'd already shaved, you know? And... sometimes the reason that women say they don't get with someone is because they wanted to go somewhere, you know, like, I was on a first date, right, and I was on a first date, and when I was looking forward to seeing her again, I really liked her, and then at the end of the night, unprompted, she says to me, she goes, oh, listen, Mark, I would invite you back to my place, but I don't sleep with guys that I like on the first date. Which is fine, you know, I don't think I'm entitled, of course, but just the way that she phrased that was so interesting to me, that I had to ask her, I was like, sorry, you say that you don't sleep with guys that you like on the first date. So does that mean that you do sleep with guys you don't like on the first date? Are you telling me if this date had went worse earlier, it could be going better right now? She's like, don't be like that. I was like, how'd you like me now? See, I'm getting too old for it, man. Like, you know what a lot of the young people are doing these days? They're eating ass. Do you know about this? Young people are eating ass. And that's what they call it as well. They call it eating ass, right? I think it'd be a lot less appetising if they called it eating arse. Somehow that doesn't sound as nice. Yeah. Now that's too far for me, right? I'm not a big fan of eating ass, right? But of course young people are into it, right? Because they've all got young bodies, 18, 19, 20, young 20s, like, you know, they're experimenting on their body. Let's see how many of them are into eating ass when they're all in their 30s and everybody's got piles and IBS. Let's see how sexually adventurous they're willing to be then. It's not for me, a single life anymore, man. I was like, I went back to this girl's place recently, right? Before anything happened, I just said to her, I was like, oh, listen, are you on any contraception? And she's like, no, you need to use a condom, right? I would always use a condom anyway, you know, just for safety, and sometimes mistrust, but, you know, because guys will accept a woman telling you she's on contraception as easily as BBC iPlayer, except she's got a TV licence. Or just like, yes, okay, no further questions, let's get started. And I'm always careful, right, because that's my big fear, right, because like, I just don't want to accidentally get someone pregnant whose surname I've still got saved in my phone as Tinder, do you know what I mean, like... And no one wants that, right? No one wants to have a baby with somebody they barely know. No one wants a gender reveal party to double as a father reveal party. It's like, oh, by the way, the dad is him, that guy. So I'm always quite careful, right? But, and to be honest, and I know there's a reason, right? There's a lot of reasons why women choose not to go on the pill, and there's side effects, all that kind of stuff, right? But to be honest, seeing a one-night stand, I'm always quite worried if I'm using a condom as the only contraception, because I just don't like the idea the only thing stopping me and this relative stranger having a baby together is a slim slither of rubber that's been bashed around in my wallet for more months than we care to mention. And And maybe why don't you pull out, right? And I do still pull out, but I'm still worried about it breaking like, some of the pre-cum seeping through, you know, like. And a lot of people are like, oh, you can't get pregnant because of pre-cum, and a lot of those people are now parents. And so because I'm so paranoid about this, right, I just had to keep checking that the condom hadn't broke. So like, my technique just ended up resembling the way you check your car for motor oil, just sticking it in and then straight back out again. I'm like, yeah. I think it's good for a few more goes. I was worried we might have a leak there, but it turns out we're okay. But I've always been really paranoid about condoms and stuff, and it's led to the most embarrassing things, right? It led to the most embarrassing thing that ever happened to me during sex. Like, it was the first time that I'd ever slept with a girl who started, like, playing with herself during sex. And I thought she was trying to use her fingernail to break the condom. So I see her doing all this, you know? And I'm just like, what the fuck are you doing? She's like, I'm just trying to get some enjoyment out of this. You know, because some women can't get pleasure through penetrative sex, they've told me. And no, but that's true, and it is common that a lot of women can't orgasm with just the in and out thing, which is a shame for me, because, like, you know, that's all it takes for guys. It's so unfair that women are designed that way, right? But I'll be honest, and I try my best to pleasure a partner. I'll do the hand stuff or whatever the fuck you need to do, but, like, I've got to be honest, like, see, as a guy, you can't help but feel a bit emasculated if you can't, like, make a woman orgasm with your dick, right? Because it's like, you know, imagine what it'd be like, women, right, if you're, like, really trying to get a guy off and you're, like, riding his cog, and he's like, look, this isn't doing it for me. Can you just rub my balls, actually? So the only way that I can get off. I mean, there are guys like that, to be fair, but... You know, and it's like, I'll do my best to pleasure a partner, I will, right? But see, like, making a woman orgasm with your fingers versus your dick, it's a bit like getting a win in the UFC by submission versus a knockout. It's like, yeah, you're still getting the finish, but it doesn't look as good for the cameras. I was looking at this girl, and she wasn't enjoying it as much as I'd hoped, right? So I just said to her, like, you know, communication's an important part of sex. So I just said to her, like, listen, is there anything I can do to make this better? And she's like, look, the only way that I can usually finish during sex is if I'm using a vibrator. So I'm like, that's cool, you know, she might get out. So she goes into the drawer, she gets out, she hands it to me. She's like, right, you use this on her, obviously. Ooh, yeah. Oh, you, sorry. So we start having sex using the vibrator, and she does eventually manage to reach a climax, right? But see, right along as a guy, like, you feel a sense of pride if you make a woman orgasm, right? But see, on this occasion, I just didn't feel like I could take the credit. It's like, you can't really celebrate a strike in bowling if you've had to use the rail. Oh, yeah, Steve, come on! She's like, I don't know why you're celebrating, that was fuck all to do with you. I was like, sorry, would you say I had my earphones in there? Guys, thank you very much. I hope you've enjoyed it. What a treat. Wow. It's been an absolute pleasure to speak to you. Thank you so much for coming out tonight. It means the world to me that so many people are coming to buy tickets. I never really thought I'd be able to play somewhere like here, so it really means a lot. Thank you very much. I used to, when I was starting out doing comedy, like, for years, I was working in that call centre that I spoke about earlier on, right? I was just doing the fucking road. It's sure, fuck them, right? But... You know, I used to come by here at the time, and it's mad, like, man, like, because you know what I mean, right? That's where I was working when I was starting out doing stand-up, and it was just to get me by until I could go full-time. I actually went full-time doing stand-up in February 2020, which proved to be a fucking mistake, right? But you know how we always fantasise about quitting a job that you hate, right? I used to do that all the time. And then I seen my mate quit the job the best way I've ever seen anyone do it, right? Because what happened was, one day we're in the work, and this kind of guy, the boss was, right? The boss comes round and he says to him, he goes, listen, son, I know that you might not give a fuck about this job, but guess what? We are paying you to give a fuck. So he just went, well, you better start paying me double, because I don't give two fucks.
which is why he was forced to stand down. So, guys, thank you so much. What a treat. You've been brilliant. Good night. Cheers.